It's that time again. Time for another edition of Shelve It or Shove It, the completely superficial way to pick books for your TBR based solely on their covers. I am your hostess, Daisy X Machina, the drag queen detective who investigates all things speculative in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. This is a TBR game where I look only at the covers on new releases that have gone through Goodreads, and then I'll shelve the books of covers I like, and then of those, pick one book to add to my TBR, not reading the blurb, going into it completely blind in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. So it's a fun game. I enjoy doing it. I hope you enjoy watching it. Let's get started with science fiction. First up is Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. And there's a tagline, Sapphic Moby Dick in space. It's reminding me of Tamsin Muir. And it looks like some big space creature whale thing, I guess. There's tentacles, there's a big eye. It's very eye-catching. I actually like this cover. I think I'm going to have to shelve it. Next up is Ruins by Lily Brooks Dalton, author of The Light Pirate. Not heard of this author or The Light Pirate, and the cover is a little dull. There's this olive green, it looks like a stamp almost, with a sun, and I guess there's runes, an alien rune maybe, and a silhouette in red or rust walking down it. I don't like this cover. I think it's kind of boring. Doesn't really tell me about the story, except there are runes involved. I don't even know if it's on this planet or not, because that could be the sun or the moon. I don't know. I'm not interested. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Celestial Lights by Cecile Pinn, author of Wandering Souls. Don't know this author, Wandering Souls, and there's sort of illustrated cartoony little cover of a astronaut, sort of looks like he's relaxing in or lying down on a planet or asteroid maybe. It's pretty whimsical. I kind of like it, but it's kind of too simple, and I'm not sure what the story could be about. I think I am going to have to shove it. Next up is Nobody's Baby by Olivia Waite. Okay, I'm in a quandary here because I like this cover, but I picked up Murder by Memory. There's a little quote here from Book Riot, and I didn't care for it. It wasn't my favorite book. It just had a distinctive cover like this that is illustrated, it's bright, it looks a little bit retro. It's exactly the type of cover I'm drawn to, but I think it's in the same series as Murder by Memory, which I'm assuming is a cozy science fiction mystery series. Again, because I didn't like the first one, I'm assuming this is the second one. I just am not interested. I'm going to have to shove it. And finally in science fiction, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Strife. And I'm assuming this is part of his Children of Time series. I have not read the series. Have been curious about it. I thought it was a trilogy, and this must be the fourth book. I will say this. I usually am not drawn to Adrian Tchaikovsky's book covers because they look a little bit generic, but I actually really like this one. There's these rings around a planet, but there's something going on in the rings that's really intriguing me. But if this is a fourth book in a series that I haven't started, I don't think I'm interested. I'm going to have to shove it. Now we move on to fantasy. And first up is Inamorta. I don't like it when the text is twisted. Inamorta by Ava Reed, author of Lady Macbeth. I have heard Lady Macbeth. I wonder if this is another sort of historical fantasy. There is this sort of spooky image of a face with moths flying around her. It's kind of intriguing. Inna Morta. An immortal? Maybe? I don't know what that means. Oh, I do like the illustration. Is that a tooth? Looks like there's a tooth in this design under the face. I have a lot of questions about this. Even though I like the illustration, I don't think I would pick it up by this cover. And it's annoying me. The words are on the side. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is The Library of Amerlin by Kaylin Josephine. New York Times bestselling author Adrian Young says a spellbinding reminder that wonder once lost can always be found again. Now, if you guys haven't noticed, novels about libraries is a thing right now because I've been seeing a lot of them. Now, I personally loved Mark Lawrence's library trilogy, and I actually like this cover too. This is the type of illustrated cover that draws me in. There's this city, and it looks like there's something going up, some smoke going up around it, this Library of Amerlin. That's all it's telling me, though. There's a library that's threatened, I'm guessing. I like the cover. I'm going to have to shelve it. Speaking of Mark Lawrence, Daughter of Crows by Mark Lawrence is next. How funny. I just mentioned him, loved his library trilogy, like this author quite a bit, and I like this cover. It feels a little bit generic, the title, Daughter of Crows, and then there's this crow. I'm not quite focusing on what the story could be about with these statues of women. There's a crow on the statue, I'm assuming, and I just love this illustration. I wonder if this is the same illustrator that did the library trilogy, or the books in the library trilogy. That starts with The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I like this artwork. I'm gonna have to shelve it. I'm shelving it! Next up is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. Cast the kind of spell every fantasy lover craves, an irresistible plunge into another world. So, Portal Fantasy, maybe? I like the illustration of this creature. I mean, it's some type of bird with a very long neck, but it looks like it has the head of an eagle, maybe, and a fantasy kingdom that looks a little generic. I like the artwork, and I like the bird. I like how it frames where the title is in a circle. I just think it's feeling a little generic in terms of fantasy. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Seasons of Glass and Iron Stories by Amal El Motar. Now, the name's really familiar. I think they wrote the Time Wars book. And did I read a middle grade by them? I think I'm thinking of a different author. Their cover, it looks like some type of Escher thing floating in a forest. It looks like it's an old-fashioned oil painting with a rabbit chasing the hind end of a fox, maybe. This is obviously going to be an anthology, and it's an interesting cover, but it's not enough to get me to pick it up. I think I'm going to have to shove it. Now we move on to horror. Ooh, spooky. First up is A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James, best-selling author of The Sundown Motel. there's a tagline. He's been waiting all this time for them to come home. And guess what? I think it's a haunted house story. And I always make fun of horror that there's always one or two haunted house stories in every Shelved or Shelve It. So they really have to be distinctive for me to pick up a haunted house story. And this one is interesting. There's like this attic window shining light on a tricycle. And it looks like there's broken glasses along the edge, which I think is interesting. And a box full of darkness. There's this like whimsical, childlike haunting, I'm guessing. But I don't think this is unique enough for a haunted house book for me to pick it up. I think I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is yet another haunted house book, This House Will Feed by Maria Turode. And there's smoke and a house. This is not as interesting as the previous one. And I actually don't really like this cover at all. So this is pretty much a no-brainer. I'm going to have to shove it. Next one is The Age of Calamities, Stories by Sanaa Ahmed. And so there's St. George and a Dragon. We've seen this illustration before. Stories, it's an anthology. The sort of washed out turquoise color is weird. All this is kind of very generic and weird and looks like cheap Photoshop. I'm not interested at all. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200 by Robert Brockway. You know, every once in a while there is a title that is so curious or funny or interesting that it really carries the book, and I love this title, I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200. The title itself is telling a story, and it's sort of this mustard yellow, but there is a knife, and it looks like a goblin dressed up like a princess going through a coffee cup. What is going on? I'm so curious. Or is that a frog? Or goblin? It's a goblin. I'm very curious about this one. I like the title. The illustration is eye-catching. All this like blank space, this mustard yellow space is working for me on this one. I'm going to shelve it. Finally, in horror, Dead Fake by Vincent Ralph. And at first blush, it kind of looks like a haunted house, but with the title Dead Fake, like a deep fake, I'm guessing not. Bleak Haven High School, this could be young adult. It's kind of giving me vibes of Black Mirror, like deep fake, dead fake, sort of a very contemporary issue with technology. And I like that this high school building kind of looks like the face of a skull. And there's someone with a phone. So yeah. Oh, and there's someone with a knife with a hood. Ooh, I hope it's not a slasher. Oh, there's a lot of things I'm liking about this. So yeah, let me go ahead and shelve it. Okay, this is an interesting selection in science fiction. I've shelved one book, Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. In fantasy, I've shelved two books, The Library of Amerlin by Kaylin Johnson and Daughter of Crows by Mark Lawrence. And in horror, I've shelved two, I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200 by Robert Brockway. And Deepfake by Vincent Ralph. So, you know what? I'm going to say no to the fantasies, Library of Amerlin, Daughter of Crows, because they look kind of epic. And I'm just not in the mood to jump into an epic fantasy, especially if these are series, and it wouldn't surprise me. Both of them are a part of a series. That leaves the science fiction, Hell's Heart. And of these three, I'm looking at Hell's Heart, or I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200. Dead Fake looks a little weak compared to the other two covers. And of these two covers, Hell's Heart says Sapphic Moby Dick in space. They both look kind of humorous. I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200. And Sapphic Moby Dick in space. Okay, just looking at the covers. Just of these illustrations, I like them both. But you know, the one that's telling me a story, and the title is so intriguing, is I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200 by Robert Brockway. That's it. That's what I'm going to pick. I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into on this one. Let's go ahead and now that I've picked it, read the blurb. To lonely 8-year-old Kay Washington, the worst thing in the world is silence. That's why Eddie Video makes a perfect imaginary friend. He's smart, rambunctious, and loves pulling pranks. But most important, he's never ever quiet. 40-something immigrant Ivanov is a contract killer with an unusual imaginary friend who overstayed their welcome. His only rule, no kids. Kids need their imaginary friends. But when one of Eddie Video's pranks goes too far and lands Kay in the hospital, Ivanov agrees maybe exceptions can be made. After all, rent is due. But Ivanov and Kay will soon learn Eddie Video is no ordinary imaginary friend. He is something much, much darker. A balance of comedy and catharsis, this dual narrative tackles both the fear of growing up and the scars our childhood leaves behind. Okay, so the main characters, two characters, are a lonely 8-year-old Kay Washington and immigrant contract killer of imaginary friends. So sounds very whimsical, very funny, very intriguing. I am curious, but what about you? What books or books would you have picked based solely on their covers? Let me know down in the comments. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.